Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Crystal Crawford Show. My goodness, this week is different, changing. Welcome. I just got off my Salon de la Consciousness call. I changed the show time, live show time, to be off of that call when I do the show. And we just had a really vibrant conversation about one of the keys to total freedom, which is no competition. There are 10 keys to absolute and total freedom if freedom is something you're interested in. And one of them is recognizing that when you go into the need to prove that you're not wrong or the need to be right, that you are into competing with something that you've invented as real. And so a key to freedom is to not do that, do something else. So we went, so there's just a lot of different places that we went with this. What I'd really like to talk with you about today is in and around a scenario that I faced in the last 2 weeks while I was recovering from what I think is probably COVID, what I think was probably the thing that I had to handle called COVID. I had a scenario pop up that got me really looking at what we give up to keep things in our life and what we could choose that's different. We're living in a period of time right now where saying what is in the world is getting people deplatformed on social media. It's creating a lot of, there's something I'm aware of with this broadcast, I think. Okay, fuck it. I'm just going to keep going as if this is recording. We're just living in a really strange time in history where people are basically not allowed to be themselves. Socially and, communally, basically, if you are yourself and you have your opinion and you stay what is for you, you are censored, right? And I've done a lot of research on all of this. I know what's happening. The stuff that's going on in mainstream media is so the same. It's just being parroted from platform to platform that, from the very beginning of this whole thing, I knew something was going on. So I've always been looking underneath the hood from the beginning. But the thing is that the bigger arc or the macro picture of censorship isn't just what's occurring. There is also this micro censorship that we're doing of ourselves all the time. And it's to cope with everything that we're aware of. It's to cope with not losing the people that we've decided we can't lose. It's to cope with all the things that we think we should be or have to be or can never be. It's this just massive amount of coping. And I've never been faced with a scenario like I was in the last 2 weeks that showed me so dynamically that if I was going to be fully me and express, in the way that I would normally express, versus if I was going to choose to be the watered down me or the me that, was just doing what I'm doing to I don't know, hide or, pretend like I don't have opinions on things or, don't have a point of view. I've never seen so disparately the two things. And I was faced with this scenario in real time, looking at if I choose to be fully me, this is the thing that will be sacrificed. And if I don't choose to be fully me and say what is, then I'm the thing that will be sacrificed. And what am I going to choose? So I thought I would bring that conversation out into the open and really go, what does it take to be willing to say what is? No matter how popular it is or unpopular it is, what does it actually take to be that in the world? Now, there are a lot of scenarios in your life where people are going to use feelings and other controls to force you into choosing what they want you to choose. And that's been occurring probably all your life. That's the purpose of feelings. The purpose of feelings is to bully you into choosing what other people think you should choose. The purpose of having a point of view and fighting against what it is that you are aware of is to bully you into choosing what it is other people want you to choose. There are a lot of people right now using their points of view and their feelings to bully other people into choosing what it is they think they should choose. And in navigating what's become really exposed, the thing you've got to look at is what's relevant and what's going to create what I want to have. In this scenario that I sort of half referenced to at the beginning of this conversation, I had a person who we used to be closer. I used to be closer to back in the day, reach out to me again. And our friendship had dissolved around an event. She had reconnected in and around this event. And what I was faced with was this person who really, really, really wanted to relate to me around this thing that had occurred and find out what had occurred for me, find out more words and language that had occurred for me so that she could find more clarity around what had occurred. And what I was faced with was that I really, really, really didn't care as much as she wanted to care about what had occurred. I didn't have as many feelings about it. I didn't have as many points of view about it, even though I'd gone through a process and things had taken place and all this stuff. I was faced with, I don't have as much caring for this thing as she does. And what does that mean for me in regards to this person? So I was faced with this thing of like, if I want to appear like I'm a caring person to this other person, I have to give up all of this other way of functioning in the world that I've already decided will mean that I lose. I lose the friendship, I lose her respect, I lose her point of view about what I am as a person. I lose if I'm me. And that to me is the bigger conversation. It's like, what is it that we have decided we will lose? It's inevitable that we're going to lose it if we fully be the difference that we are. There are periods of time and periods of history where your voice is pivotal to something changing in the world. There are other moments and other periods of time where your silence is pivotal to things changing in the world. And neither one of them is right and neither one of them is wrong. They're just creative elements that you have. But if you have already pre-decided that you're going to lose or not win based on something that you choose, then that you're never going to have access to the amount of choice that you really have to institute the world that you want to see, because you're already decided that you're going to lose if you do this thing, and so you won't do the thing. Sometimes the thing is required to stimulate a change in the world, a change in other people's points of view. And if you've already decided you're going to lose if you do it, then everybody loses, including you. So I guess what I'd like to open up is like, what would it take? What would it take for us to really look at what we can choose that nobody else can choose and what's really relevant to us? What would it take to look at what's truly relevant to you? Every single relationship situation, scenario, as it's invented in this reality, is set up so that you're constantly looking at what you have to choose in order to not lose the relationship. Relationship is set up as the thing that you can never lose. It's set up as the holy grail that you can never speak against. It's set up, family relationships, your primary relationship, old friendships. Relationship is put on a pedestal and put as the thing that you can never speak out against. You can never say something against. My question is, what if you being you is the very thing that dismantles that reality? What if you being you and you having no significance about things and not really a lot of importance on things, you being the person who doesn't really do a lot of feelings around this thing, is the interrupt to that system? If that is the interrupt to that system, what's right about that we're not getting? As I was handling this scenario with this person, and what started to open up to me was that thing of like, wow, we have all of these like holy grail topics that we're just never allowed to talk about. We're never allowed to say that family is blah, 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 blah. We're never allowed to state or say out loud that, my sister is insane, for example, or, we're never allowed to say these things. And it's not even spoken that we're not allowed to say these things. It's just there. You're just never allowed to say those things, right? You don't say that about family. You don't say that about your sisters. You don't say that about your moms and your dads. If you've been friends with this person for 82 years, you can never say anything about this. Like there's these sacred shrines to people and things that we are just never allowed to say anything about. And what changed for me over the last couple of weeks, I was like, fuck that. For what reason is that the valuable thing and I'm the not valuable thing? For what reason? Why am I making other people the valuable product and I'm not looking at what's going to really work for me? What's the world that I want to see? What do I want to create? What am I the voice of in the world? For what reason are these things that I've decided I cannot lose, that I definitely will lose if I am myself, the valuable product? And I'm the one that has to always lose. Why have I set myself up like that? So, if any of this is resonating for you, the only thing to look at is like, if you were willing to lose anything and anyone, what could you choose? What are you the voice of in the world? What is actually possible from and as you? If you weren't setting yourself up to lose in any scenario, but you could just recognize, okay, this person is this, and this thing is this, and this thing is this, and this thing is this. What's relevant to me here? And what would I like to create? And what's possible for me? Like, what would change in your life? I'm seeing all these places where the person we're okay with losing is ourselves. We're okay with it. We're okay if we lose. We're okay if the person who gets abused is us. We're okay if the person who gets judged is us. And I know there's this whole conversation about receiving judgment, but let's pen that for a second and just go here. We are okay because we're strong enough. We can take it. We've survived this long. What's one more conversation? It's okay if it's us suffering. The person we never ask if this is really working for is us. We never really go, does it work for me that my mom talks to me that way? Is it actually functioning for me that every single time that I get with my sister, she treats me in this way? Does that work for me? Is it creating a lighter space? Is it creating a greater reality for me that I never speak up about this thing? Is there something that if I were willing to voice it would give more action to it in the world? Like, is it enough for me to continue going through the world saying nothing? Or is there something else required? Is there voice to give to the thing that nobody else is willing to say something about? Did I come here to be totally silent all the time, no matter what, so help me God, so that I never lose, I always win by not losing, and the person who never gets to be is me, or something else? And I know this conversation can so easily go into like, speak your truth and stand your ground and fight for what you know is right. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is, what is it that if you gave voice to what is, if you were willing to give voice to what is, what would change in your world? Where are you silencing yourself so that you never lose? And you can look at this across the board with what's happening in the world and with your relationships in any direction. Where are you silencing yourself so that you don't lose? What, if you gave voice to it, would actually be the stimulus for the change you've been asking for? You know, sometimes it creates more to be silent. And sometimes it creates more to be willing to give voice to that which you haven't been willing to give voice to before. Allowance is something we talk about in Access a lot. Allowance is where you're the rock in the stream and everything goes around you and you don't get washed away because you're the rock in the stream bed. But allowance is not a doormat. Allowance is also, I'm sorry, this doesn't work for me. Allowance is not where you take everything and you are always the one that loses. And for what reason would we set ourselves up to be the one that loses? What is really relevant to you? What would you like your life to be like? What is going to be the world that you want to see, and what's going to create it? Now, that's not a conclusion. There's no one way to be in the world. There's no giving voice to things is the right way and being silent is the wrong way, or being silent is the right way and giving voice to things is the wrong way. You have to be present and you've got to really look at it. But the person that you have to include in your reality is you. Are you including you in your reality? In your conversations, in your relationships? Are you including you? Are you looking at whether or not what's occurring is working for you or not? Are you including your body? Are you including it? Does this work for my body to be around this, to have this kind of treatment? Does this work for my body? Are you including your body? Are you including your reality? Because I think this is the thing that I'm really aware of, is the thing we're not practiced in. We're not actually practiced in including ourselves. We're really, 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 really practiced in surviving other people. And there's a lot of surviving going on right now. There's a lot of surviving other people's points of view, society's points of view, government's points of view on travel and masks and vaccinations and all the other things. We're doing a lot of surviving. So what does it take to choose thrival with all of this? Who would you have to ask to get access to the ability to thrive? Do you ask your friend? Do you ask social media? Do you Google something or something else? Giving voice, does it mean to talk about it out loud, or is it just recognizing what's true and what works for us? Yes. Yes, it could be out loud and it could be silent. But if you're in an interaction and you go into shrinking and making yourself less, are you giving voice to what is, or are you shrinking what is in favor of not losing? So if you're in an interaction and you don't have to get less, you get to just be there, be you. What does that be like? And you can say something or not say something. You can actually be interesting point of view and go, oh, what's required here? What's gonna create something? But you haven't given you up. You're not making you less because the other person is being so aggressive with what their point of view is, with what their feelings are. And this is the thing to look at. It's like, are you allowing other people's points of view and feelings to bully you into silence? And it can be verbal silence or it can be energetic silence. Is what they're willing to be and what they're willing to choose the thing that you're using to justify making yourself less? And if you didn't have to do that, if you get to be, if you had as much allowance for you being as different as you are, because that's really the thing, you're different, then what would change in the world? Like, you're different. You function different. Things affect you different. You do feelings different. You don't do feelings. Maybe that's what's different. You don't really do thinking and emotions and all those other things that people find so relevant. And the people that find those things relevant are going to use their insistence that they're relevant to bully you into something that maybe you don't want to choose. But what's required? What's the antidote? You being willing to be as different as you are and having no point of view that what they think is relevant for them. That's the antidote. Just because somebody's louder about their point of view does not make them right. It just makes them louder. So what would it take for us to be willing to be as loud as we know is true for us? Whether we use words or we don't use words, what would it take? What would it take to stop crumbling at the insistence of other people's realities? You get to be everything that you are if you're willing to be it. You get to have that much pleasure. And nobody else has to agree with it, get it, relate to it, communicate with it, or anything else. Are you willing? Are you willing? You know, and as I was navigating this whole thing, and obviously it's like changing me from the inside out. It's like, I got that, you know, the thing that I haven't been an allowance of with me is just really how different I am. I really, really am different. And, you know, like I realized that the thing that I would give myself up for more than anything was like people's approval of how, I don't even know, how nice I was or how kind I was or my heart or my, you know, I know your heart and I know you care sort of thing. That's one of the things that I would give myself up for. Oh my God, you know I care. Okay, I'll give myself up, right? I can't prove that I care and I can't do the things that look like I care, but I'll give myself up if you think that that's me. And now I'm like, I'm not giving myself up now, you know, like I'm going to do things that from your point of view look like I don't care. And I'm going to do things that look like I, you know, I'm this person that you think is wrong. I'm going to do all kinds of things that you're going to, you know, judge as something. How does it get better than that? You know, what's it going to take for me to know me and to have me and to be me regardless, and to be willing to lose whatever it is that needs to go out of my life in response to that, and never allow that to be the thing that I use to eliminate me, negate me, shrink me in any way. You are a gift to everything that's possible. And what's it going to take for you to know that and to be it?